And moving on, next up, we have a very exciting talk with Jillian Rothman. Jillian is representing the major labels here at Unmutable today. She's joining us from Warner, where she focuses on partnerships, new business, and of course, Web3. So now I will pass it over to our friend Mitchell and Jillian to discuss Web3 from the other side. Take it away.
All right, welcome back everybody to another great session at Unmutable. I hope you're having a good time so far. I've been really excited about this conversation. We're here with Jillian Rothman. She's the VP of New Business and Ventures at Warner Music. She was bold enough to respond to me on Twitter, so we really appreciate her time in joining us. Jillian, would you mind introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for having me. And I spend a lot of time on Twitter, so my Twitter DMs are an easy place to find me.
We all probably are there too much.
Yeah. I'm Jillian. I'm on the New Business and Ventures team at Warner Music Group, and our team sits under the Global Digital Strategy and Business Development team, and we're focused on the partnerships, strategy, investments, and development in the areas that are outside of kind of more traditional streaming for music consumption. So we're more on the interactive side. Our team does the social deals with licensing and partnerships with TikTok and Facebook or now Meta, and also with gaming. So the Robloxes, which include development of virtual concerts and games and music-focused worlds as well, not just kind of the sort of point and click consumptive music listening experiences. And within that team, I lead kind of our gaming, interactive, and Web3 practice.
Love it. I love that you guys are focused there. So let's dive into that perspective a little bit. So I think yours is different than many of the guests we've had on today. So one is you work at a much larger company, and two, you're from a more traditional and established part of the music industry. I'm curious, I'll just start here. What do your coworkers think you do?
I think they think I sit in meetings all day, and they're not wrong. Done a really good job of providing information on our partnerships and on our investments and on our overall view of this landscape and this changing landscape throughout the company. So I actually think our entire organization, from the board and the executives down to, and I don't mean down to in a derogatory sense, just and including all the sort of operators at the label level, and even artists and artist managers, we're trying to have more and more conversations with about why we're interested in this space and how it can bring about new revenue streams, but also new ways to get creative with your content, new ways to connect to your audiences, new ways to help you and your brand and your stories be told. And so we've done, I think, a pretty good job, and we're in the throes of doing it even more. Our chief digital officer, who we report into, is actually going on a world tour next month to explain why have we been investing in Dapper Labs, and what is altered state machine, what is an AI NFT, and which are two of our recent investments. And so I think we've done a pretty good job of explaining what we're doing in this space and why. And so I do think the rest of the company understands my role and our team's role.
Oh, that's great to hear. I imagine that you're in somewhat of a kind of a bridge role and kind of helping people understand where you're going and why you're doing it. I think that's something a lot of us face. I've been working with a lot of artists personally as well, and them explaining to their fans why they're doing what they're doing. At every level, there's sort of a cognitive leap that people need to take, and there's education that needs to happen. What are you finding is working for you, for folks that are in that more traditional industry, as far as bringing them along in the education and some of this stuff? Where do you start?
So I think with gaming, it's a little bit easier because FIFA and GTA radio and all of these things have been for literally decades a really interesting way to discover new music and to share music. And now Fortnite with emotes and skins, people are seeing the value of kind of bringing yourself and your music in games, it's like pretty obvious, proof is in the pudding as to like why that's valuable. I think with Web3, it's a little bit more complicated with crypto and NFTs, just because people don't understand it that much, and or not yet. It's not super mainstream yet. We're talking to an unmutable audience, so they get it. But I think we have to keep reminding ourselves the number of people who own NFTs is not even like millions yet. So it's, I think the last data I saw was like 3% of Americans have one. So it's not super mainstream yet. And so I think there's not just an education hurdle, but also an adoption hurdle of how do we actually onboard audiences with us when we do these kinds of projects. But that being said, I think the bigger issue is just, at the end of the day, this stuff that we're all working on, that we're all talking about, they're tools. It's new tools. Ultimately, I think these tools are reorienting the internet around new shared ownership, new communities, new microeconomies. But really, it's the tech that we're really talking about. And we would never go to an artist and say, like, do you want to do an internet project? What does that mean? So it's the same thing with this. Like, you can't go to an artist and be like, do you want to do a Web3 project? Like, that doesn't really mean that much. I think the tech really has to come second, and we have to be talking to our labels and our artists about, well, what are you passionate about, and what do you want to be doing with your fans, and what do you wish you could test with your biggest and most loyal fans that maybe you wouldn't put on Spotify, or you wouldn't go on tour to do, like, and then how can the tech, like, what are your passion projects? Mm-hmm. And then how can the tech support that, and not the other way around?
I appreciate that approach a lot. I think there's a lot of folks trying to just kind of bolt on Web3 or do an NFT. So I like that you guys are sort of starting at the why. I was going to ask this later, but let's go straight into this because you brought it up. I'm curious. One thing I'm a little worried about potentially is Web3 sort of with regards to music and artists and the fan relationship, sort of really only being accessible or like for the super fans. And I'm curious, like, how do we move beyond that, or how do we kind of reach casual music fans to enjoy some of these benefits as well? But for the people who can't sit on Discord all day and like wait for drops and can't be involved at that level, but still want to benefit and connect in these new ways.
Well, I think I think it's going to start though first with the super fans, just because of right now how kind of clunky the user experience is. I think it'll be hard for us to ask mainstream or more casual fans to download a wallet and connect this wallet and join the Discord. And so I agree with you that, like, right now it seems like really it's just the whales or the super fans or the collectors that are really leaning into these projects. So it's kind of a chicken or the egg situation. Like, maybe it's not, maybe the push towards making it more applicable mainstream is not that, but the people aren't there yet because we haven't really pushed it yet to be more accessible. So I think they'll both work hand in hand. I think more brands are adopting NFTs. I mean, the NFL came out with something today that they want to do. So I think as more brands adopt it, as more communities, and, I mean that in like the lowercase c sense, just more organizations, more networks start to use this technology to connect with each other, we're going to see bigger and bigger communities. And maybe, the Discord will be for the sub community of super fans who want to be involved in the governance and all of those things, whereas the larger community don't need to participate every single day in the same way, and instead they just get the benefits of getting to go to events or letting it be part of their digital identity by getting to say I'm in the Cardi Club online. I get to I get a little token. And so maybe that's where it'll be. And instead of seeing super fans being the entire community, they'll just be kind of subgroups, the same way there is now. But I think it's like a UX issue, like how do we make adopting these technologies and onboarding people easier?
Totally agree. I'm curious if you're specifically looking for any group or type of artists, whether it's the biggest ones we have or some of the indie folks we have, to really break this open? And do you have an opinion on that, or do you think it's going to be kind of everything and then all at once?
Right now, I just want to work with artists who want to do it.
Sure.
Like I think we just want to be helping artists who are, I feel like I'm like a contestant on The Bachelor. Like, are you doing this for the right reasons? I think we just want to work with artists who see this as a long-term fan engagement strategy, as a long-term community building strategy, something that they really want to commit to. So I think, I think, so I don't really care personally. Like, I don't know what, the organization as a whole thinks, but, I personally, and the projects that I'm trying to work on with our development teams are projects for artists who I just want to be really engaged and have they are creating this project or this community, or and as long as there's that purpose, even if it's as simple as like, I just want to know who my biggest fans are and be able to talk to them directly without someone in the middle, even if that's the purpose is that simple, as long as they really believe in that and are really excited about it, that's the kind of artist that I really want to start bringing into this space early. So it doesn't really matter if they're a baby artist or a superstar, if they're US or they're, in LATAM, like, I don't think it really matters. But it just really starts with that excitement and engagement.
Sure. Okay. Let's keep going down this road. I'm curious how you or others at Warner kind of think about how that fan artist relationship might evolve thanks to Web3. Like, anything specific in mind that you're like looking forward to seeing on that front, or like, are we going to look dramatically differently at the way we interact with artists in 5 years than we are today? Or what do you think?
So I think this ability to create these sort of tokenized communities, these abilities to create a world in which everyone's incentives are aligned because they all share in any increase in value that they bring, that they participate in as part of these micro communities. I think that brings a lot of really interesting opportunities because artists are now incentivized to give more to that community because the community is incentivized to try and, pump up. And I don't mean even financially, I just mean like intrinsically the value of being part of that community. And so it's a give and take, like the fans and the members of the community want to keep the community really exciting and fresh because they want value for being part of it. And artists want to keep bringing in new rewards and benefits and whatever it might be to also keep that, keep it feeling like it's something that has a lot of value for all of the members. But in order to do that, there's a lot of work. It's already hard enough for an artist to create music and tour and do brand sponsorships and be on socials all the time and be talking to their fans and do meet and greets and do, the Today Show in the morning and whatever else it is. So imagine having to do all of that but feel an obligation and one you should feel, but to feel like you need to constantly also be talking to your token community and your fans and bringing them specific value and benefits. And so I think while it's a huge opportunity to really connect and bring value and create this very special place for the people who support you and who you want to reward back, it's a lot of work. And so that's where I see it being something that an artist really can lean on their labels to help with. And so I think our view at Warner is that we want to be, an artist's partner in creating those communities. And then at the end of the day, we kind of just want to be a part of it. Like we want the label to be a part of that overall community. And so what we can do with respect to helping them create new content, helping them figure out, where to distribute things, helping them understand where they can best provide value to these communities. I think that's kind of where we're thinking about our role and the way we can support artists.
You totally stole my next question. I love it. You're making it my job's too easy. So I was going to ask, how do folks at Warner and maybe others, colleagues in the traditional music industry sort of see your role as as like in Web3? And do you see folks gearing up for battle, or is it more supportive? And like, how does the label help these? You got to some of it, but maybe if you want to expand just a little bit on how you can see a label, say, helping with an NFT project or with releases in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to like music specifically, it's I think it's all about kind of looking at how these tools allow us to either better distribute, better create, better track and report and pay out on royalties or things like that. Like, what are the new ways about how we can use this technology with respect to the traditional music release? Is it in content creation? How does it affect that? How does it affect distribution? How does it affect, reporting and royalty pay? Looking into all of that. I think we've, we had an artist on Atlantic recently release something on sound. So we're already thinking about like, how do we create true, audio NFTs and things like that. But then, outside of just the core like music distribution and creation, I think we want to position ourselves, and we're starting to already, as like a resource for artists and their partner in creating their NFT projects or their token communities or whatever they might want to do in this space. And I think that's right now, and probably for the next few years, where a label can really add value. And I think we've talked a lot about on our team and with our label partners about what do artists need in this space? And is it something that we should be doing or no? And it really feels like what they need is and fan engagement and community building, marketing, new content creation, coming up with great new ways to tell their narratives and stories. And I mean, that's what labels do. That's what they're best at. So I think it's just about, trying to continue to do that in this new space and really find out, where does a token community, where do NFTs, where does this technology actually augment all those practices? And that's how we're really thinking about it, is how do we use this to be a better partner to our artists?
It's really great to hear. I can say in my personal experience working with a couple artists in this program we ran last quarter called the Mintry, that's been their experience as well, by and large, is the labels are kind of looking for ways to help. And what I think I've liked so far from what I've seen at Ultra Records and then hearing from you is they are letting the artists kind of lead the way and tell the label what they need. And I think that seems like the right approach. It seems aligned to Web3 values. So I love to hear that.
Yeah, is that something? I mean, is obviously we're not deaf, so I know a lot of the conversation, especially in the music space, is about, do I need a label and can I do this? And does Web3 make it so that labels will never exist again? And I wonder like what your view is on that and what you're hearing from people.
Oh, you're flipping the script on me.
Oh, sorry, am I not supposed to do that?
No, I love it. So I think, I'm not an artist, so I'll caveat it that way. I do think it's very, very case by case for each artist and like how much they like doing some of the things a label is good at, right? I think when you get to a certain size too, like you need a team, and there are things that labels are very, very good at. I think for me, the core comes down to ownership. The things that make me sad are when artists don't own their masters, or feel like they were tricked out of them more often. Like if they knowingly are entering a deal and they're getting what they're supposed to, and both sides agreed on everything and everything is kosher, totally fine. Sign whatever you want. To me, I think in the media, you see a lot of cases where it's like, don't really know what happened, but it seems like artists are really mad. And I know that streaming on Spotify, more money is going to Spotify than is actually going to the artists I care about. And so I have to go out and find these other ways to get back to them. So something about that feels fundamentally broken, but that doesn't rest solely on labels. I think, like I said, the artists that I've worked with have been very positive. Like they have a very positive relationship with their labels. And they take a lot of things off their plate that allows them to do some of this Web3 stuff that they just surely wouldn't have time for if they were out on their own. So I think, I mean, if it's too much of a cop-out answer, I'd say it really depends on the artist and their like willingness and desire to do some of the business side. If they're savvy on that stuff, I'd say keep it. Do your own thing until you get to the point where like any startup, right? Get as far along as you can before you raise money. So you can keep more of the control, keep more of the value, but
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you're hitting on something that I think is so fundamental to a lot of the conversations in the crypto space. Is like it's all about like transparency and choice. And I think a lot of that, when a lot of people are having these debates about how the blockchain trilemma and whatever, and like how decentralized should something be, and or would I be willing to trade that off for something more secure, something faster, or whatever. I think at the end of the day, like as long as I am the one getting to decide what my trade-offs are, I think that's fine. So I think Web3 opens up all of these new opportunities and new options. And I think I would hope that once artists sort of, that my team is trying to provide for all the artists in the Warner roster, I hope they choose to do these projects with us and want to do them. But I think that's true. Like it's really artist by artist. What are you trying to get out of this technology? And that's your choice, sort of how you want to weigh different pros and cons. And I think that's kind of a tenet to this entire, I don't want to like say revolution, but like whatever I'm talking to amongst preaching the
it is a revolution. You can
revolution. I think that's where it's so exciting. And sorry, I'm like losing my breath, like getting excited about it.
No, I do the same. Don't stress it. I think like we can dig in even a little further here. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is, I think you even surfaced this first, like folks would generally feel like there are parts of the music industry that are just, quote, broken, right? And I guess my question is, particularly around how artists are compensated. One is, do you agree with that? And if so, do you see Web3 as a potential solution to that, or are these separate issues, or like, I'll let you wade into that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't work on artist contracts or artist deals, so I obviously like can't totally speak to that. And I think streaming has been an incredible, I don't want to say revolution again, but like it's been incredible for a lot of artists and for the industry as a whole, coming out of kind of the Napster era, to be able to find ways to license properly the ability to have access to every song in the world for $9.99 a month is kind of an insane consumer experience.
Incredible.
But I do agree, like while it's an insane consumer experience, if you're charging everyone the same thing, you are missing out on those people and those not even super fans, just like more people who are willing to spend a little bit more. So I would happily spend $9.99 a month on my like Spotify subscription, and then $50 more a month on like the specific artists I love to get something extra, whether it's their concert tickets or their sweatshirts or whatever else. And now I think or special music, general tracks, whatever it is. And so now I do think Web3 offers the opportunity to better find who those other artists are, and to kind of, if you've ever seen that like 1,000 true fans chart.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm like, this is me doing it. So I think you can continue to use streaming and to distribute widely and to get your music out there. And you can also kind of hit that long tail of fans who are demanding more from you, and who want more. And so I think it lets you do that because you can find them more easily and you can talk to them directly, and give them things and also take things, from them more directly. So I guess I would agree and disagree with what you're saying, but in both cases, I do think Web3 is a huge opportunity.
Great. No, that's a great perspective. And we're running really short on time already. I can't believe it. I'm going to hit you with like lightning questions to close us out. So what's something in Web3 that you're excited to see emerge that hasn't yet?
My mom buying an NFT.
Okay. Love it. And what are you listening to right now?
So he's not a Warner artist, so don't get mad at me, Warner. But I'm a big Harry Styles fan, so I've been listening to Harry's House on repeat. I went to Coachella a couple weeks ago, and he premiered a couple of the songs from it, but they hadn't been released yet. So I was like excited to be like, what was that one song that he sang? And so I've been listening to that on repeat a little bit.
Okay, so you're in the super fan bucket, of
For him,
course.
yeah, totally. I would buy his NFT for sure.
Great. Okay. Well, I wish we could take this a little bit longer, but we're very, I can speak for a lot of the folks in the Unmutable community, really excited for folks like Warner and others and people like you entering the space. It's a great community. We try to be very supportive of different efforts. And so really just appreciate your time in joining us and hope you'll stay in touch with us.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me.